Hi everyone, I'm Ben, and this is the Board Game Blueprint. I'm so excited to announce that we've made it for a full year, 52 episodes. I really can't believe it. And so, just to celebrate, I'm going to do something that I've never done before, and that is painting a miniature. It's not super design related necessarily, but hey, can really bring some life into maybe some of those games that are in your collection, or even wow some people with your own design that you might have 3D printed a piece for. So let's jump on over to my friend's table and show a little bit about what it is that I'm working on. So believe it or not, I don't just play board games. I'm also a bit of a role player in terms of Dungeons and Dragons. That's the one that my family actually got me into. One of maybe the first games that I've played as a kid. Mostly what gets me excited about rolling dice, and I may have mentioned that once or twice in a couple other videos. So here is my character for a second campaign that we're running with the same group, but one of the other players is now kind of stepping up into the DM or Dungeon Master chair role and created, second character. So this is mine, a lizard folk, so a lizard man kind of creature, a fighter class, which is maybe more specifically a gunslinger, which is something that was added in a more recent version of D&D, named Komandi, or Koman for short. Haha. A little bit of backstory, maybe, kind of picked up as a bounty hunter, or rather was part of a little village in a kind of a rainforest area with other lizard folk. And I'm sure I'm boring you, but hey, I gotta really pass the time somehow. And abducted by maybe some kind of operation or bad guy organization. From there, brainwashed and became a bounty hunter that way. So a paid or hired hand for maybe mercenary type work, taking out targets and things, and very proficient at the medieval kind of weaponry, ranged weaponry, bows and crossbows. The gunslinger part comes in where came up with a backstory combined with another player of mine, kind of intertwined where the hit was their character. And so maybe after a year or two of kind of chasing cat and mouse, sort of built up some kind of interesting friendship. Eventually we kind of decided that there was an accident where in order to bring back the catch alive, my character had to sacrifice his arm to save their life. And that character, being some kind of tinkerer, was able to replace it with a metal one. Yeah, a lot of different inspiration from maybe superhero stuff, what can I say? But they do say that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So thank you, Winter Soldier and such, Marvel Comics, the whole deal. But back to the painting, yes, that's kind of maybe more important and more interesting, at least for the viewers at home. So, what my friend was kind of recommending or suggesting is to start with a base coat of maybe whatever color is going to be most prevalent on your model. I did not necessarily adhere to that rule, but I think it's a wise one for sure. Don't be afraid to start painting right away. Just maybe think about the colors that you want to use beforehand. I know that part didn't even cross my mind until I arrived and thought, oh no, what am I going to work with? Painting is really easy. As you might imagine, you dip your brush into the paint and just kind of layer it on, brush it on. When it comes to the paint itself, I like to use, a little glob, like a little, not a super small bead, but maybe like a pea-sized squeeze from the containers or bottles, mixed with a couple drops of water to dilute and let the paint run on instead of, again, just kind of be applied with too much. As they say, you can always add more paint, but you can't take it off. Or, well, you can a little bit, but generally I think, thinner coats and more of those is better than too many thick coats, for sure. And really, it's kind of just coloring along the lines as best as you can. One technique that I kind of developed was for maybe steadier details to lean my arm against the table or against my own arm somehow, and use that as a little bit of leverage for keeping things steady. A couple other things that you might consider is going to be a couple different sized brushes for, again, getting the larger surfaces and then maybe doing finer details with something that's quite a bit thinner. A cup of water for washing whatever brush you're using is going to be helpful, and a couple paper towels to maybe dry it off after rinsing is going to help as well. But really, yeah, you can see me just going at it and having a lot of fun. Maybe going over the same thing maybe too many times, but that's sort of the joy of it, is being in the moment and not really thinking about anything else. Another cool technique, and I don't know if I've got to it just yet, is a dry brush. So the idea here is that you will put your paint brush into some paint, and instead of having the paintbrush wet, kind of wiping off excess paint onto that paper towel that I just mentioned, and then going over with some light strokes. This is similar but different from maybe mixing your paints from the outset, and can offer a little bit of extra texture to your model. So I'll just kind of keep going like this, and we'll see what happens. Now here's the really cool part too, is that when you're done putting on the base paints, you can finish here, but my friend, having done this for a little while, had something called shade or wash. I'm not totally sure what the correct term is. Maybe they're interchangeable. But the idea here is that it's another kind of thing that you apply onto the model when you're all done with the main colors that you want to appear. You apply this wash or shade, and it's a bit more thin of an applicant that actually sinks into the crevices of your model, so that when it is dry, really brings out the details and provides more contrast to the whole thing. Again, because it's so wet, you can pretty easily wipe off some of it after drying your brush and just going over it again. Kind of a neat little trick there. And if I speed up the video a little bit, maybe kind of at the very end, showing off a couple process photos between the base model, the kind of base colors of the model, and then the model with the shade applied to really show the difference. Some people, if you want to go that extra mile, will apply maybe some dry brush color onto the highlighted areas of the model. So maybe some of this metal on the shoulder pad, I could put a little bit of extra paint to make it look extra shiny or reflective. And maybe on top of this hood, I could put on some more of that gray, which I was hoping for closer to white, but hey, first model, I'm pretty happy with it overall. I know for me, with this being my first model, it seemed like a very daunting task at first, but once I got started, I really enjoyed myself. I am a little bit of a creative person, I like to think, and so I wasn't totally green to any of this process. But for those of us who might be, I highly encourage you to give it a try. Maybe pick up a spare miniature from a friend, or maybe your local game store has a couple extras that they can donate to you to practice. Just putting on color, letting it dry, and maybe putting on another coat or two. I am definitely proud, and after doing this first one, I am hopefully going to be doing more in the future. I do have that whole Zombicide game, oops, that keeps staring at me from the next room. At Geekway to the West, I played my friend's copy of Scythe, where he had decked out his entire set with all those metal coins and, of course, his own painted miniatures. Thanks, Tyson. So here we go with my very first foray into painting minis. I seriously had so much fun losing myself and painting this character that I created for our D&D campaign, and just trying to get the details in as best as I could. Again, I had watched a couple videos beforehand that are just also on YouTube about maybe some little techniques and tricks, although to be fair, maybe those didn't exactly translate over with my own figure. Nonetheless, I had a blast, and hopefully looking forward to painting a lot more in this next year of Board Game Blueprint. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so that you can stay up to date on future content like this. As always, I'm Ben. This has been another episode of the Board Game Blueprint, and together, let's build something great. Thanks again for an amazing year.